after last month's talk, many times they know ahead of time what I'm going to talk on, but after last week, I did not have any idea what today's talk was going to be. And it wasn't until actually Patty and we were in Costa Rica a couple of weeks ago, and the last day we were in the terminal, California Pizza Kitchen, and Patty was relating about something that happened earlier in the week, and it just struck me to what happened, and I went, this is the talk. And what had happened earlier in the week is we had gone to a zoo, and there was a buffet, and they had a bar. And Patty thought, I'm going to get us a couple of frozen margaritas. So, okay, great, She went to the bartender, and the bartender says, yeah, I can make frozen margaritas. Go up to the cash register, you're number 20, pay for number 20. And Patty went to the cash register, paid, charge cards to the receipt, put it in her purse, and we went back to our table. And we had one of the worst margaritas I've ever had. It literally tasted like frozen seawater. It didn't, it was like, But anyway, later on in the bus, Patty decided to check the receipt. And it was for $66 for 2 margaritas. She was upset. She didn't tell me about it, because I would have got upset. But when we got off the bus, she said, I want to speak to Juan, our tour guide. And she went and talked with him. And she took responsibility. She said, I should have checked. I should have checked the prices. I take responsibility for my part, but $66, that's a little high. And he went, yeah, And he just listened, and he said, I'll see what I can do. And Patty said that the fact that he just listened to her, at that point, it was like, okay, I'll just eat the $66. The problem was gone. Do you hear what I'm saying here? Just by being listened to. And that's when I came up with the talk, listen up. And it's a pun, listen up. Listen to God. But it also means listen to God in yourself. Listen to God in the other person. And when the Course in Miracles says, the Holy Spirit's voice is only as loud as your willingness to listen. In my 20s and 30s, I don't know about you guys, but in my 20s and 30s, I knew everything. I knew what you were thinking. I knew your aims. I thought I was a enlightened man around women, but the truth is, I actually thought I was smarter than them. It was all unconscious, believe me. But it was funny because my relationships with women, though I wouldn't have troubles getting into a relationship, after about 6 months, they wanted to rip my face off. Because I was very defensive, and I knew what they were thinking, I knew what you were planning, I know what's going on. And it wasn't until my mid-30s when I took some classes, I began to listen. Listening does not mean just stopping your mouth. It means listening with your heart, stopping your mind. Because a lot of times I would listen, say to a woman speaking to me, and I was planning my defense. So as she was talking, I was planning, or how can I fix her, or whatever. It was like I was thinking the whole time. And it took me a while to learn this. This is very powerful. If you're in a couple, or if you're just with a work person, if you're willing to do this little exercise sometimes, if you're having an upset, do this little exercise where you just say, hey, let's talk about this, but here's what are you willing to play this game with me? Okay, while you talk, I will not think. And I will wait until you're done talking, and then you say you're done, then you let me talk, and you don't think. It's very powerful. Because I found out that people that I thought were stupid idiots because of what they believed, when I listened to them, when I listened to why they believe what they believe and how they came to their beliefs, I would go, oh, I don't have to agree with you, but I understood. I had a little compassion. Do you hear what I'm saying here? And I had a friend. He said one time he was praying to God. And he was praying to God for something he wanted. And he was praying and praying and praying and praying and praying and telling God what he wanted and praying and praying. And he's not getting any answer. And he says after a while he got really disgusted. He just says, God, I'm praying to you. I'm talking to you. You're not answering me. And he finally got quiet, and this tiny little voice said, I've been listening the whole time. You haven't been listening. You've been talking. And my answer is, no. And he was mad. But he said, actually, I knew all the time the answer was no. I knew that what I was asking for didn't really support me. I was trying to push it. And I just didn't want to listen. You know, when we stop and just listen for a moment, like I say, there have been times when 2 o'clock in the morning I'm lying in bed and I suddenly realize something Patty says or my daughter says something and I suddenly get something when my guards are down. And I go, ugh. And I learn something about myself. You know, listening, Thich Nhat Hanh says that listening without interruption can relieve suffering. My last wife, she died of cancer. And there were times when she was in pain. And I would just say, tell me about it. And I will just be here with you. And then the telling about it, it helped. Just a little bit. This is what happens. It helps relieve pain. It opens us up. It's a witnessing. You know, sometimes, what I found out many times is that sometimes people just want to be witnessed. Like when Patty was talking with Juan about the margaritas. When he witnessed it and he says, yeah, I get it, that's not right, we'll do it. And at that point she says, okay, fine, it's done. Oh, we ended up getting $33 back. You know, the restaurant said they did it wrong or screwed up, whatever. But that wasn't even the issue. It was like she was fine at that point. And I've seen so many times, being a man, I would think that I had to fix everything. And my biggest problem early on was I was always trying to fix my relationship. And so many times, it took a while for me to finally hear when a woman would say, I don't need you to fix me. I just want you to hear me. I just want you to hear my pain or my frustration. And the reason I didn't want to hear it was because I was afraid of being changed. Alan Alda says, listening to another person is being willing to change. And when I would listen to my relationship, my wife, my girlfriend, whoever, and I got a sense of their hurt or their pain, that's what I didn't want to feel in me. We are all in relationships all the time right now. And what you feel, I feel. And so many times I was afraid of feeling what you were feeling because I didn't want to look at that. George Carlin once said, I am always relieved when someone is delivering a eulogy and I realize I'm listening to it. That's really, you know. But it's listening beyond words. You know, just listening, being present for the other person. I had an experience about 10 some years ago, back in Houston. No, more than 10 years, probably 15 some years. There was a weekend spiritual experience that was going to be a spiritual enlightenment experience. We're all going to get enlightened this weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And Friday night, the guy is selling this, you know. He says, on Sunday, 6 o'clock, we're going to have, you know, what they call them patakas, the feet of God. They're little carvings. And when you put your hand on it, people have been known to explode, speak in tongues, just go into rapture. And I'm sitting there just getting angry. Because I've been doing a lot of work, and I've been realizing, actually, I don't think that's what it is. But he was trying to sell it, and I was kind of, geez, you know. But I decided, no, I'm going to stay. And it was a wonderful weekend. A lot of exercises and a wonderful weekend. Friday and Saturday, we're doing writing and meditating and working on ourselves. Sunday, we're doing stuff, and then 6 o'clock rolls around, the candles are lit. There are 300 people lined up to, you know, have their experience. And I go to the Padaka, and I kneel down and pray, and I reach out and touch it. Nothing. Nothing. I go, and I could feel people behind me going, come on, get enlightened. I got to get on with mine. Get on with yours. And then, nothing. And I crawl back to my mat, and I lay down, kind of in fetal position. I went, this sure as hell doesn't feel like enlightenment. And this voice said to me, oh, and you know what enlightenment feels like? And I went, no, I just think I know what enlightenment feels like. I just know what I've read or what I think. And his voice said, what if you're enlightened right now? And I started meditating. There's a meditation process I've been doing for years. I started doing it on the floor. And I had this thought, go sit on the chairs. There's chairs along the walls. And I got up, sat down on a chair. And there was silence. There were people, 300 people. But there was nothing going on in here. It was quiet. It was like I was listening to God, and God was listening to me. It was interesting. It lasted for about 45 minutes, an hour. I felt like just a pair of eyes. A man, a woman, blue blouse, red. That's all I would see. It was just like there was no dialogue. It was just person. I was thirsty. I went and got some water, cold, wet. It was quiet right now. This is how it feels right now. So if you'd like, let's have a little experience of that. Would you like to do a little meditation? Okay. So just gently, lovingly close your eyes. Just let your feet be on the floor. And imagine that you're high in the mountains and the sun is setting. Giant towering pine trees all around you, reaching up to the sky. The sun is going down. The sky is orange and red and deep, deep blue. And you could smell the sweet pine sap. And you stand in this holy spot and you just listen. A bird calls. The wind rustles some pine trees. An animal goes scurrying by. And very, very gently and lovingly, imagine that through the bottom of your feet, you're extending energy down to the center of the earth, touching Mother Earth, being with Mother Earth. Very grounded, very loving. And you realize as you're touching Mother Earth, the sun has gone down. And there are 1 trillion stars out. The black night. And you see the shadows of the trees reaching up, reaching up, reaching up. And very gently, you let the top of your head open up and send energy to the center of the universe. You send energy to Father Sky. And like those trees, you are anchored with Mother Earth and reaching up to Father Sky. Listen to who you are. Listen to the peace. And realize that you are merely the intersection of Mother Earth and Father Sky, where they come together and you exist. And we thank Mother Earth. And we thank Father Sky for showing us who we are. Take a deep breath. Keep your eyes closed. And I'm going to read you something from A Course in Miracles. Listen. Perhaps you catch a hint of an ancient state, not quite forgotten, dim perhaps, and yet not altogether unfamiliar, like a song whose name is long forgotten, and the circumstances in which you heard completely unremembered. Not the whole song has stayed with you, but just a little wisp of melody, attached not to a person or a place or anything in particular. But you remember from just this little part how lovely was the song, how wonderful the setting where you heard it, and how you loved those who were there and listened with you. The notes are nothing. Yet you have kept them with you, not for themselves, but as a soft reminder of what would make you weep if you remembered how dear it was to you. You could remember, yet you are afraid, believing you would lose the world you learned since then. And yet you know that nothing in this world you learned is half so dear as this. Listen and see if you remember an ancient song you knew so long ago and held more dear than any melody you taught yourself to cherish since. Very gently open your eyes. Be still. Be quiet. honor yourselves right now and listen. Bless you all. Bless this church. Bless God. Namaste.